Hello, hello. Yeah, I'm sure you can hear me all right. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. I'm Pablo Ruiz Múzquiz, here at Penpot, and this is the talk towards a new Treaty of Kadesh. I typically have the custom of not repeating a talk, so this is the first and the last time I'm going to give this talk. And this is also one of those awkward situations because it's actually a sponsored talk. I paid to be able to give this talk today. Well, actually, I didn't pay to do that. I was offered as an exchange to be able to do that. And I'm saying this is awkward because when I'm there with you and I have a sponsored talk, it's like, okay, here we go. We're going to see the product. We're going to see all the great features. We're going to see, all those claims, and it's basically a sales speech. So I promise this is not about that, although there's a twist towards the end. But this is really us, through me, sharing with you some key insights of how we see this tension between design and code, designers and developers. Now, I cannot see you. By now you know that speakers here just see like a dark blob, just that very light source of light there. And it is quite intimidating to be here, as always. It's intimidating because it's frightening, but it's also intimidating in the sense that I have to entertain you for half an hour. You're very smart people, you know stuff, you have strong opinions, I have strong opinions too. So it's really a challenge. How do you do this? And so I want to kind of brush that pressure off right away, and I'm just going to pretend I'm just having a beer with you, and it's probably late night. I'm just going to share a kind of a rant. I'm just going to be very passionate about something with a glass of wine or some beer, or meat. I do homemade meat, so you're into home brewing, can discuss later. So if I get very passionate, or I say like weird stuff or some private jokes, just pretend that we are in that situation in a pub or something, okay? And I would like to have that beer, by the way, but I have to go with the water. So I'm going to start with the end. I'm going to start with the present and the future. I'm going to start with a video. What you're going to see now is just, I think it's 30 seconds. You're going to see what is coming next for Penpot, design tokens native. So it's as our design prototyping tool that is web-based real-time collaboration for designing software. You're going to see what is coming in a couple of months, which is native design tokens. It doesn't matter if you don't really understand what you're saying, because towards the end you will probably have a better perspective of why this is important. So let me start with that video, and then I'll go with the Treaty of Kadesh. There's no music, there's no audio. This is a sneak peek. So that is the Penpot interface. And you see that we're switching themes. We have encapsulated design decisions into tokens, and we're just creating sets of those tokens and overriding stuff, creating themes, all that stuff. And this is really powerful. This is very powerful. Okay, that's it. I want to start with this because if you now decide to leave, at least you saw something that is super cool that is coming next. But now, this is the future. Now, let's travel back in time. And let's travel back in time to actually 33 centuries ago. So this is late Bronze Age. And let's travel to Eastern Mediterranean, okay? And I don't know if you can enjoy the power of this stone-cut relief. This is Ramses II in his chariot. Of course, he can, as a god, steer the horse and shoot arrows at the same time. No need for any help there. For me, it's almost, I can hear the roar here, like, this charging into a battlefield, almost as an apocalyptic synesthesia, coming through the picture. It's amazing. Now, what is this? What was going on? Why Ramses II, an Egyptian pharaoh, needed to picture this, to order this to be. By the way, I think this is Abu Simbel. Because there was a very famous battle, the Battle of Kadesh, in that, 33 centuries ago. And he had a very important personal victory. And of course, he wanted everyone to know how cool he was and how he deserved to be, of course, not that anyone would ask, but or question his God nature. Now, this Battle of Kadesh, I want to perhaps you know about the Battle of Kadesh. By the way, I'm not going to see any hands raised, but I'm just to ask the question, who knows about the Battle of Kadesh? Okay, amazing. Oh, yeah. Oh, whoa. No, I did see one hand there. So the Battle of Kadesh is a very important battle for itself, but also for what it meant in terms of what I will discuss as the Treaty of Kadesh. So it happened there. Late Bronze Age, we have the Egyptian Empire and we have the Hittite Empire, and they were basically competing against each other for the dominance of that region, okay, Eastern Mediterranean. And basically the Egyptian, the new kingdom of Egypt, Ramses II, was really concerned that the Hittites were growing in power, and they were menacing the integrity of their territory. So, this building up of the tension came to a point where they had to meet midway and have this battle. And this battle was massive. This was, you can see there depicted chariots from both the Hittites and Egyptian. The chariots were the tanks of the time, right? They were wooden, typically wooden and a bit of bronze, since it's late Bronze Age. Structures, with several horses, one or various, and then depending on the tactics, you would get 2 people or 3 people. The Hittites would have 3, and the Egyptians typically would have 2. And actually, the Hittites were the masters of the chariots. They had this advanced technology. We will discuss this later. So 5,000 chariots, 5,000 to 6,000 chariots in total for that battle. It was a thing to see. Now, what happened is that there was espionage, and the troops, the army with Ramses II going after Muwatalli II, that was the Hittite emperor, they were deceived. Muwatalli sent spies in disguise, that's just nomads, and they would make sure that the Egyptian army would think that they were covertly retreating, they were far away from Kadesh. So what happened is that, or the story goes, that then the Egyptian army was encouraged to just go fast towards the encounter of the enemy. But that was untrue. They were perfectly positioned to encounter that army, and it was a disaster for the Egyptian empire and the battle. Let me just drink some more water here. So, it was a desperate situation for Ramses II. They were cornered, they were almost annihilated in that amazing battle, huge battle in Kadesh. But then suddenly, Ramses II, in that cornered state, decided to just try and wreck the lines, just ask their loyal and more faithful soldiers to just gather a small group of elite soldiers and just charge through the lines and be able to just break those lines up and revert the course of the battle. And it happened. It was amazing. It was almost, he was going to be killed as a god. He was going to be killed, and somehow he managed to do this and change the course of the battle. I mean, they did not win. It was not, they created this chaos and all that, and it was fine for them, but they didn't win. It was a stalemate. So the two armies retreated, and both sides claimed they had won. Okay, it was a stalemate, but they say they won. I think this is important for what's coming next. Yeah, here you see the Egyptian. This is Ramses II. Very colorful, the stylistic style. This is just wonderful to see. And then again, the stone-cut relief from the Hittites. Hittites would typically not draw much and create works to be seen. So not a lot has survived, unlike the Egyptian Empire, as we all know. But here you have very different styles. And what happened is that after that battle, both the Egyptian Empire and the Hittite Empire discussed, perhaps we're fighting each other so much that we are weakening ourselves in this fight. And we have other peripheral menaces that are going to take opportunity of this food that we have, this ongoing food. Like for the Egyptian Empire, that would be the sea peoples. And for the Hittites, that would be the growing Assyrian Empire. So they suddenly realized that perhaps if they continue to fight each other, what would happen is that they would both collapse because of the other external menaces. Okay? And so 15 years later, they signed the Treaty of Kadesh. And this is the first peace treaty that we know of that has survived to date. And this is the Hittite version in clay. And this is in cuneiform, as you can see. And of course, the Egyptian would have their own version of the treaty in hieroglyphics, and you can see them in Thebes. So they came together. There's this argument: who was it, the Egyptian Empire or the Hittites that made that move to say, should we make a peace treaty? But what happened is that happened. What is interesting about this peace treaty, not only that is the first one that we know of, surely not the first one in the world, but the first one that we know of, is that it was translated in the two languages, hieroglyphics and Akkadian, in the case of the Hittites, and they used the translation to subtly change the terms of the treaty. Sometimes it was just to have a more flourished language about who won the battle. And sometimes it was to describe the territorial claims in a more important or more clear stance for their own peoples. Because then the Hittite people would read their own version of the treaty, and the Egyptian Empire would read their Egyptian version of the treaty. This is super cool because you can see how they are doing PR, like in empire PR, through a peace treaty. There is also a debate among scholars whether this is a peace treaty or can go beyond that and be considered an alliance treaty. But I think the alliance, the concept of an alliance, is a bit far-fetched. Despite so, both kingdoms or both empires would promise to help each other in case of external menaces, but also internal rebellion and insurgency. Even they agreed to give back, send back political refugees from the other side, which in a way meant that even if it was a peace treaty, they would both consider themselves completely separate entities. Even, in many ways, they would say the otherness was there in the treaty. Okay. you're saying, okay, but this is a technical conference, Pablo. I mean, that's fine, but anyway. So, I like to see the Egyptians as designers and the Hittites as developers. I'm not fond of false dichotomies, and I'm not fond of binarism, but for the sake of the story, just I'll do this. Egyptians actually mastered agriculture and the hieroglyphics and these colorful, stylish depictions. And then the Hittites mastered metallurgy, warfare, tools. And they would like to just carve stuff. And the cuneiform, do you see the cuneiform? Like, it's almost binary there, binary code. So it doesn't really matter, whether you consider yourself an Egyptian if you feel as a designer or not, or Hittites. But here what I want to convey is that I do feel that we have these two empires fighting against each other, where there are actually other challenges and menaces surrounding us that are actually bigger threats. And as long as we don't get along with each other, these other threats, whether they're budget restrictions, technological advancement and pressures like, for instance, Gen AI, misunderstandings, expectation management, whatever, or just the pressure of not being able to build super cool software because of this dysfunctional relationship. So what if we were able to build or write a better version of the Treaty of Kadesh? Okay, and I mean a better version because that was when a peace treaty. It was translated in different languages. Like yesterday's Christine talk, that the two mental models. What if we only had one mental model, right? Or, and let's not try to do that PR trick ourselves. So I'm here to share with you what I think that new Treaty of Kadesh between designers and developers should contain. It's not comprehensive, but there are 4 things that I would like to see in that Treaty of Kadesh. And this should not be a peace treaty, but an alliance treaty. And by the way, an alliance in the sense that we also intermingle. It's not an alliance and we are separate, but we just mix everything up. That's so much better. Okay. The first one, and Jeremy Keith was on stage last year discussing this very topic, is that declarative design is a way to onboard developers onto the design process. There is imperative design and declarative design. I don't have the time to discuss both. Again, go and check out that Jeremy Keith amazing keynote. But declarative design, contrary to imperative design, is a way to express the intended result of a design instead of saying exactly how you get to that result. So I like to use this example, like road signs. When you go to use whether you are walking or in a car or a bicycle, and you see a stop sign. Stop sign, that is declarative design. It is telling you what is the intended result. You need to have speed equals 0 by the time you get to that stop sign. But it's not telling you how exactly that should be achieved. There are many ways you can get to that speed equals 0. Declarative design is so much better. The developer will understand declarative design, and a great example of that is CSS. CSS language is a declarative design, very expressive and very declarative. But designers also understand both imperative and declarative design. So for me, one key element of this Treaty of Kadesh between designers and developers would be that we favor declarative design when we are designing, because then developers can participate in the design process. The second element of that Treaty of Kadesh would be that we use open source and open standards so that we have an ecosystem that is ours. Ours in terms of property, but also ours to expand and shape as we wish. It has to be interoperable. We don't want silos. We don't want proprietary tools dictating what can we do and what can't do. And this actually allows both to evolve the tools themselves without just waiting for some genius, across the, sea to decide this is cool, this is not cool. Open source and open standards is about privacy, is about ownership, but it's also about a better redistribution of wealth. So I think this is, I would encourage, the scribes preparing this Treaty of Kadesh, let's make sure that we use open source and open standards tools. Of course, they have to be the best, but this is one characteristic I would ask those tools to have. The third one is a bit tricky, I'd say. Non-biased tooling that be customized by opinionated mindsets. You are opinionated. Everyone has strong opinions, and everyone has bias. Please don't, this is wishful thinking, don't expect tools or technologies or processes not to be biased. Let's just embrace that there is bias. Let's also make sure that you know the bias. You're aware of the bias, okay? But this seeking of the unbiased world, I'm not on that camp. I'm biased, but I'll let you know my bias. Like, for instance, my academic background is in physics and computer science, so now you have a bit of, you understand my perspective when I discuss this. Or I'm biased towards open source because of how I see the world, a better world. And then you can, through that lens, understand what I'm saying. In terms of the tooling, I think it's important that the tools do not tell us everything in our process, that they stop short of doing that and allow us to that, not just that last mile, but actually 10 last miles. A lot of frameworks do that. Tools typically are not those frameworks in the design world, but if we were able to not enforce our own opinions into the tool and leave them a bit more generic, I think that would be so much better. You should be entitled to decide your own creative process without the tool already having made that opinion, decision for you. Actually, I'm going to give, this is the pub moment where I just ask for another beer. A very famous design tool earlier this year released a GenAI make design thing. I don't know if you know about this. It was a disaster. This was a disaster. And it was a beta and all that, but they released that regardless. And then someone would tested it and asked for a weather app UI. You know the story. Some of you know the story. And the result was basically a copy of Apple weather app. There are many problems with that. We can discuss this, again later. But one that people did not perhaps see very obviously was the fact that someone has decided that good design is what Apple does. And one might argue, wow, Apple design. Why? Is suddenly the whole world, and I mean the entire world, has to abide by the rules of Apple design? Who's making that decision? So I'd rather not go for that kind of tooling anyway. I don't know if you like this example. I really loved it. And finally, this Treaty of Kadesh needs to ensure that everyone can join this treaty, this alliance. We cannot build this and yet create an elite and make it very sophisticated and only for the learned, and the cultured. No, this has to be a welcoming space for people either very junior in their professional careers or migrating from other professional careers, other skill sets. Because otherwise we're just building a new closed space where we think we're very smart people. And if you don't know our jargon, you don't belong. So I think this is also as important as the rest. And so this will be, for me, Kadesh 2.0, where we have this perfect mix, and then we have children from Egyptians and Hittites, and this is wonderful. And then we have a new world with an everlasting alliance that unlocks new software processes and new ways to build products. Now, this was the end of my talk. This was the end of my talk a week ago. But then the organization told me, Pablo, it's not just 15 minutes, you have 35 minutes. Okay. This is true. If there's anyone in the organization, they cannot very... I say, I don't think a sponsor deserves more than 15 minutes, by the way. But the thing is, what can I do? This was the talk. So I asked for help for the team. What can I do? Should I dance? Or there were options around that. But no, they suggested, why don't you give examples, concrete examples of how Penpot is doing that Treaty of Kadesh, and say, okay, I can do that. So this is where it feels super sponsored, but actually it was not the intention. So, well, this is Penpot. This is the design tool that brings designs and developers together. Blah blah blah. Remember the collaborative design. We got a sneak peek thanks to Christine yesterday. This is grid layout, grid CSS layout, natively incorporated into the user interface. So when you design, you are already designing declaratively. You can go flex, you can go grid, and you can go traditional or imperative. You can mix everything if you want. By doing so, we are moving away from this idea that if you're a designer, you should need to learn how to code CSS to better understand what you're designing for the developer. This is basically a very long-winded workaround around handoff. This is no handoff. This is one mental model for both. And we bring the creative design, CSS in this case, to the design tool, where it belongs, where designers are. I don't understand why people are so obsessed about designers having to hack code. Why? Just give them the tools they want in their space, in their framework, in their workflows. And also, if you are a developer and you already know CSS, you can go here and just start designing in a much more familiar way. I mean, designing perhaps not with a capital D. You're doing some crazy UI stuff yourself. And most importantly, you're having the conversation, designers and developers are having the conversation in one place. This is a game changer. So this is our way to honor point one of our Treaty of Kadesh. The second one was open source and open standards. So, well, Penpot is open source. We use the Mozilla Public License 2.0. Here is one of the repos. There are many others, but this is the most important one, I guess. A lot of GitHub stars, and we use a lot of super cool technology. By the way, building Penpot is a hard undertaking. It's no wonder that you don't see many design and prototyping tools out there, because it's really hard. Really hard. You have all the challenges. It has to be performant. It has to be precise. It has to be able to allow you to be creative without imposing a line of creativity. It's a meta product. It's a product to build products. But it's also super fun to build something like that. So open source here, and open standards we're using. If you export your Penpot file, it's a zip file with JSON files and some assets. So really fun and easy to use that. Of course, we have the API and all that stuff, but if you want to look into the file, it's a very open format. The third point of the Treaty of Kadesh was the non-opinionated tool that allows you to customize your own workflows. There are many ways we're doing that, and of course, one of the ways is not trying to tell you everything in the process. Like we don't want this clutter interface where you can do everything at the same time, but rather keep it a bit of a framework mindset. So you have a lot of choice and you have agency yourself. and those degrees of freedom are respected. But another way is just to have the plugin system, and then you extend the platform as you wish. We have the API, as I just said, but the plugin system, we just released this one, by the way. This was Penpot 2.3 a week ago. And then we have the plugin. So, and actually, there is a contest going on. There's still a couple of weeks. If you want to earn some money and bragging rights, till December 15th, the contest is going on. And there's lots of prizes, and we are receiving a lot of submissions, and it's amazing, to have the community extending Penpot in a way that they know they don't have to ask us for permission. They can build whatever they want. You can self-host your own Penpot server and build your own, I don't know, weird plugin that only you really enjoy, and it's fine. You don't need to go to us and say, is this valid for your marketplace? Can I please submit this? Is it infringing some weird trademark with some other partnership that you have created with this other company? You just build yourself whatever you want and deploy it wherever you want. So this is a nice way, and we're seeing a lot of creativity from both designers and developers through this. And then finally, but it's really, we really support this idea of making a tool accessible and inclusive. Also in terms of how we co-create the tool with the community, but that's for another talk, how we really go out there and ask people from all around the world to share how they would like to see a design prototyping tool to be built. Not just, we are a company in Spain, here in Europe, and of course we have a narrow view of the world, okay? We don't want that. We don't want to be yet another Western-centric tool. So this is making this accessible also means that it has to be accessible to other people to build the tool, not just through plugins, but actually the product backlog. But anyway, what I'm sharing here is tutorials. Whether it's in the text form or in video format, here Laura Kalbach, she does an amazing job. She's the daughter of a Hittite and an Egyptian. You can tell that, because she understands both worlds, and the tutorials are meant to be extremely accessible for anyone. We have advanced tutorials, but then these basic ones about color theory or design systems or grid layouts, I would honestly point to the grid and flex CSS tutorials that she made. I don't think any other tutorial that goes through the code only is worth now watching when we have that kind of stuff. It's so visual, so obvious, tangible, amazing. So a lot of effort is put into making these tutorials accessible for everyone. And actually, we are creating a course to learn how to design a prototype using Penpot, but as a background tool. It's the skill set that really matters. And so I'm now going to finish with the same video. This is the design tokens interface that is coming. This, for us, represents very much this Treaty of Kadesh 2.0, because design tokens are encapsulated design decisions that are very technical. So it's great. It's one of those things that you see that and say, oh, this is the feature. This is the feature coming to us, allowing designs to actually scale up, to be able to cope with so much more. And so we are really excited that we are partnering with Token Studio, the creators of the former Figma plugin basically design tokens. They're building this, and it's also open source, and you can see here as a sneak peek of this. And so now, with the perspective of the Treaty of Kadesh 2.0, you see this, and you see more than just a feature. You see a strong opinion about what the future of design and prototyping tools should look like. And hopefully you'll have this. Penpot is already an amazing tool, but we keep building super cool stuff.